public service wage bill is no laughing matter. Earlier, Bronwyn Nielsen spoke to Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene and asked him to respond to opposition party criticism about the bloat in South Africa's cabinet.
It's not clear what they mean by a cabinet bloat, because if they say that we have too big a government, perhaps we should also be asking a question whether we do not have too big a parliament. Because if that is the case, then perhaps we need to reduce parliament from 400.
So you don't take the criticism that cabinet is too big?
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, if government wants to take a decision, and it's for that reason that Parliament is a critical player in monitoring government expenditure. So if what you spend on, you haven't been able to say, even if you are spending on a big cabinet, a big parliament, because everyone also does take away from something from the fiscus. What's important is if we all play our role, because my view is that when you set up cabinet, you set up a ministry because a ministry has a role to play. My view is that when you say parliament needs 400 members, it's because in order for it to discharge its responsibilities, it needs committees, it needs people with a particular set of skills, it requires, so it's even in the public sector, my view has always been, I don't have a problem with a growing number in the public sector, but as long as that number increases, the increase in the number increases the productivity. So I think it's unfair just to look at the numbers without looking at what is it that the numbers produce. And unless people are then saying that all the ministries that we have we're not supposed to be having those ministers, maybe that they would have an argument. But I haven't had such an argument.
Many were expecting you to come down harder on wasteful public sector expenditure.
Public sector expenditure needs to put in place, and that is why I'm saying we have now beautiful pieces of legislation, the public finance management. We now have established the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer. We now are beginning to say, can we now have a mechanism of auditing this? Let's have people held accountable. So in your department, if it is the accounting officer is now supposed to report in terms of his performance agreement. We're also saying beyond the accounting officer, it's the executive authority who should also take action should the accounting officer not take action. So this is what we need now, an accounting mechanism that is going to be able now to yield results.
It was widely expected that you would increase VAT, and you could still protect the poor by increasing the number of zero-rated goods. Was that not an option, a viable option for you?
Look, the issue of VAT is actually still before the committee, Davis Tax Committee, and I actually wouldn't want to say it would have been easier to shield the poor, because we have a number of zero-rated goods, and if you look at who the actual beneficiaries of the zero-rated goods, I don't think it is well targeted.
In the mini-budget, you mentioned the sale of strategic assets. There was no follow-through this time around.
The follow-through is simple. We reaffirmed that we will be, the funds will flow to Eskom from the sale of non-strategic assets, the assets responsible that we are talking to. And for market sensitivity, I don't think there is no follow-through. We've just said we are on track. We will see the first tranche in June and the second tranche before the end of the year.
Operation Phakisa has obviously been behind the ocean economy. You mentioned that it was now going to be deployed to the mining sector. What exactly does that mean?
The ocean economy has already realized 9.6 billion arising out of this Operation Phakisa. What we're saying is that we now need to lock in one room, all players in the mining sector, find solutions, work on them, on how best we can take mining forward.
One mention of the National Development Plan. This is the plan that needs to get the country to a 5% growth rate come 2019. Why so little mention of it?
The NDP is already entrenched in our system. It's already in our medium-term budget, fiscal, the framework. It is, like I'm saying, so all I said, I don't think it's one line. one of the things I said was at the beginning, after mentioning the 9 priorities, it was to also explain that those 9 priorities do not deviate from the National Development Plan. But then at the end was just to remind people that this means that we are on track also with the implementation, because it is now already entrenched in our medium-term strategic framework.